But we're returning now to the Dvar Malchut. Dvar Malchut is really a series of speeches that were given on consecutive Shabbat gatherings called Forbringans in 1992, the end of 91 and the beginning of 92. Shortly before the Lubavitcher Rebbe had a stroke that rendered him mute. He couldn't speak. And so these are looked at as the sum total, the really concentrated finale of all the speeches of the Rebbe. And because the whole purpose of the Rebbe is to fix up the world, and the Lubavitcher Rebbe, he is the Moshiach, he's the King Messiah for our generation. And just like everybody else, I mean, the soul never dies. In 1994, the Rebbe, what they say, passed away, but he really did not pass away. It says, first of all, tzaddikim never die. And Moshiach says one of those people that he's going to orchestrate the raising of the dead. So Moshiach will not even die in his body. How this thing works, I don't really know. But nevertheless, the Rambam says that the Moshiach passing away does not disqualify him from being the Moshiach. So here we have the words of the Messiah. And the words of the Messiah are basically telling us that we have the power and the obligation and the, the agreement from God to correct the whole entire world, fix the whole entire thing up. And even one person can do it. One person that really takes this seriously, takes this to heart, he can fix up the whole world. So, of course, you can say to yourself, oh, come on, here's Rabbi Bolton, he's giving these classes. He's one person. What about all these other Hasidic Chabad? And they're all, doing whatever they can. They're going crazy, making Chabad houses all over the world. They haven't got day and they haven't got night and they haven't got any peace of mind. And they're always worried about how they're going to get money just to make ends meet and with other tons of problems that are on their heads. And I mean, if they're not bringing Mashiach, how am I going to bring Mashiach? So the answer to that is a good question, but and Judaism is based on questions, but it's not based on answers. The fact of the matter is it's true. One person can change the whole entire world. And it doesn't necessarily mean who that person is. And here we saw just an example, this week's Torah portion. It says that Yitro, that he was a big chief of idolatry, and you can't get further away than that. By him saying that I realize that the God of the Jews is right. So by this, it says that the Torah could be given. There's a whole Torah portion. The Torah, the eternal Torah, is called on his name. And there's a whole story about Yitro. So who was he? Who was this guy? What did he do? He worshipped idols his whole life. But nevertheless, because he changed his mind and he went against peer pressure, as it says that he changed the whole world. Moses, speech impediment. God chose him. Moses said, I don't want to do it. Moses realized that he was really incapable of taking the Jews out of Egypt. One person, how are you going to do it? And God said, you can do it, and you can do it. And Moses said, no, I can't. And God is not encouraging me, not encouraging you. He was encouraging Moses. Moses said, I can't do it. So the fact is, the Rebbe is telling us that God is, yes, encouraging us. And how is he encouraging us? By the 10 Commandments. When God gave the 10 Commandments, he empowered every Jew to connect to the essence of God. And God, and in the Torah, we see that it says 2 times about the 10 Commandments. The first time is the essence of God, and the second time is how we can make this essence of God work to change the world. And that's our job. We have the power, we have the ability, when the doors are open, we just have to try to do it. And not expect results. The fact is, we don't do anything. God does everything, but he wants partners. If he didn't want partners, he wouldn't create us. And he gives them tremendous pleasure, God, when we decide to be his partners and we don't pay so much attention to the negative things in the world. Okay, that's the name of the game. Al Pi Al Mor. So we have the power to do it. It was all given to Moses on Sinai, and etc. Okay. The pure godliness is in the Torah. Yes. And we have it, and we can do it. According to this, now we can explain also the connection between when we're reading this Parshat Yitro. In this year, on the 20th day of the 11th month. The 11th month of the year is this month of Shvat. 11, there's 12 months in the Jewish year, right? The 12th month is the month of Adar. That's when Purim is. And the 11th month is Shvat. That's this month. So this Shabbat, we're going to be reading Yitro. So this Shabbat, let's see what the date is going to be this Shabbat. This Shabbat is also going to be the 20th, right? That year in 1992, it was the 20th. Yep, 20th. Okay, so this year, the 20th, it's going to be the same as, it came out the same as that year, than when the Rebbe was speaking. This is 30 years later. Shabbat is on the 20th day of the month of Shvat. And that is 10 days after the 10th day of Shvat, which is the day that the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe passed away in 1950. And the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's the leader of our generation. The Rebbe said about himself that he's just a branch. He's just continuing the work of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. Previous Lubavitcher Rebbe is the Moshiach, and he's just continuing his work. The previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he's really controlling. He's calling all the shots. That's what the Rebbe said. And the Shabbat, that from it are blessed all the days, the coming days is going to be Kav Beit Shvat. And Kav Beit Shvat is the day that the Rebbe's wife, right, the Lubavitcher Rebbe here, his wife passed away. The day that who was the wife of the Rebbe, was the daughter of the previous Rebbe. She was the daughter of Kabed Kedushas Mordechai. These letters mean His Honor, His Holiness, my teacher, my father-in-law, Adonenu Moreno Rabbeinu, our master, our teacher, our rabbi. That's Admor means. Chodesh Echad, this month, which is the 11th month, this is connected to the revelation of what we said before. If you remember last week, we talked about this. The 11th day from Chorev, the 11th day from Mount Sinai. This refers to Miuchad Shabasara. This is the special number 1, which shines into the 10. What's the 10? 10 is the 10 utterances that God created the world with. It's also the 10 commandments that God gave. What is the 11? Is 1 that rides over these 10. This is the oneness of God, which is the head of all of the 10 commandments. Anochi. Namely, the first of the 10 commandments is a little bit more than all the other commandments. The first of all the commandments introduces the commander. I am your God. I know that what it says that the Jews traveled after receiving the Torah. It was a journey of 11 days in order to get into Israel, but they didn't. Because of their sins and things like that, it took them a long time. This refers on the 1, the 11, Shalamayla, which is higher than the 10 commandments, what were given at Chorev, at Mount Sinai. to the level of Antu Chad Belo B'chushman, to the true oneness of God, which cannot be counted. It's not a number. The Dargat HaKeter, this is what we call above the 10 Sfirot, which is called crown. Usually the 10 Sfirot is Chachma, Bina, V'dat, but sometimes Keter, crown, which is above all the 10 Sfirot, until the essence of God, which is above the whole entire creation. Okay, so what are we saying over here? The Rebbe is trying to say like this: the same revelation that was at Mount Sinai, that revelation, as high as it was, is available to each and every one of us. What was revealed at Mount Sinai? God. This revelation of pure God is revealed to each and every one of us. This is a common theme throughout Hasidut. What's the reason for this theme? Excuse me. It's trying over and over again to tell us, like I just gave you the whole big metaphor with going to sleep. And that Hasid, that Judaism is reality. It's not just our take on reality. It's not just a religious view of the world. It's not coming to devaluate the physical and stress the spiritual. No, Judaism is just explaining how tremendously valuable, precious, important this physical world is, and how amazingly precious, valuable, important, holy is every single second that we spend in it. And if anything, it's coming to devaluate going to heaven, to show us that any levels of spirituality that we can achieve, it's only to appreciate more the Creator and His creation. That's why in Hasidut we explain a lot of these ideas of Kabbalah, because the spiritual is a very important part of the creation. It enables us to realize that we're asleep. And when we become spiritually aware, we're also asleep. But we woke up a little bit. True awareness is when we feel the true infinite value of this physical world. What's really going on? That's the point, right? The Torah and its commandments are not just rituals for Jewish, religiously oriented, fanatic Jews. These are the will and the wisdom of the creator of the universe that's creating everything, creating all the plants, the dogs, the animals, the trees, right? Dogs, animals, trees, that's not religious. Right? That's just reality. And just trying to show us the Torah and the commandments are even more reality. And they'll bring it, like we learned in the, and those people who are with us, we're learning every, there's a people in Germany that we're learning a book called The Essence of Torah to Hasidut. Inyani Torah to Hasidut, it's called in Hebrew. And it talks about how the revelation of God just enhances every aspect of the Torah and creation. So that's what the Rebbe is saying over here. That's the number 11, shows this oneness of God that enhances all of the other 10 aspects of creation. This can be revealed, this oneness of God, which enhances every aspect of creation. This is revealed on the 11th day of the 11th month. That then there is the revelation of this 11 mitzad, the number of months, and also the number of days. Like we said before, months that corresponds to the moon, days that corresponds to the sun. It's all revealing this 11, the one that's above the 10 aspects of creation, even the 10 aspects of the Torah, the pure oneness of God that enhances every aspect of the creation. V'yesh lomar, we can say, because this comes after the 10th day of the month, as yesh b'zeh, there is also both things. Number 10, something like we said, the 10 commandments, how Moses gave them over in the book of Deuteronomy. But in the Mile of Kodesh, that this oneness of God is revealed, the oneness of God that was revealed at Mount Sinai, that's the 10 commandments that we're talking about. This can be revealed in every single aspect of the creation. This is all hinted at the number 11. Okay, so you can say, okay, it's very nice you made this correspondence, but what's it got to do with anything? The Rebbe is saying this is reality. We're talking about real reality. We're just showing how close this is to achieving. We can do it. Yesh Lomar, we can say, this is like the novelty of saying the first commandments by means of God, after already said the second commandments by means of Moshiach. In other words, we've read the Torah last year. Last year, we got this revelation of the essence of God, and then afterwards we got it, how Moses said these 10 commandments to make them usable in Deuteronomy. Well, this year we're starting it over again. So it means that what? That we have the essence of God, we reveal it in the world, and then we get more essence of God in the world, and then we can reveal even more in the world, and then the year after that we even get more. And that's what it means when Shabbat Parshat Yitro, this week's portion, when we read the whole giving of the Torah, the 10 commandments, V'yadaber Elokim, when God said all these words, we say a blessing before, and we say blessing afterwards. Is the fourth person that gets called up to the Torah. That then God reads the Torah with you. When the Torah is read, it says that God himself is also reading these words. Excuse me just one moment. I just want to have a look at something. Didn't forget. Excuse me. There it is. I'm sorry, it's not the fourth person. It's the sixth person that get called up. The fourth person that was in the splitting of the sea. Says when you get called up, or somebody gets called up to the Torah on Shabbat, is not only is the one who's reading the Torah calling up, it says that God also reads the Torah, so to speak, with him. And therefore, this gives even more power. How much more so when a person learns the Torah every day of the year? When this Shabbat is going to be the 20th day of the month. What's the number 20? The number 20 is the gematria, the numerical value of Keter, Esrim. Esrim is the numerical value of Keter. Keter is 620. Let's see, does this work out? 620, this is 300, and 200, 500. 570, Ayin is 70. Yud is 80, 580. Mem is 40. Hey, 620, exactly, look at that. That is Esrim, the number 20 in Hebrew written. Esrim is the gematria of Keter, crown. This is what we said was the one that rides over the 10, 11. So this is showing us that it's possible to reveal this level. From this we can come to the 21st day of the month. That's going to be Sunday. That also has a spiritual implication. Everything has a spiritual implication. The Rebbe is just telling us one way of learning and feeling the spirituality which is being concealed in this day. And when we think about it, it becomes revealed. That's what we said before, seeing what is heard. We just learn about it, but we can think about it, we can see it. The 21st day is the word ach. Ach means only. Ach tov l'Yisrael, only tov to the Jewish people. Echad asar yom, the 11th day, from the 10th day of the month, the 11th month. So we have the 11th day of the 11th month, and this I'm sorry. This is the 11th day from the 10th day of the month. The 11th day, count 11 days from the 10th day of the 11th month. What's the 10th day of the 11th month? The day that the previous Rebbe passed away. Count 11 days from that, you get 21. Then the next day afterward, that's Ach only. That's the day before the 22nd day of the month. That's 2 times 11. In you will the Jewish people be blessed. This also corresponds to the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the 22 letters of the Torah. That by means of this, we can draw down all of the topics and all the blessings in Bacha into you, inside. After that comes Parshat Mishpatim. Comes the law, the next week's Torah portion, and we're going to read that, at least the beginning of it, in Mincha of this coming Shabbat. And this we begin to read at the Mincha of the coming Shabbat. Elu Mishpatim that you should put inside of them. The rabbis say, just like the first commandment, the 10 commandments from Mount Sinai, also all these laws, mundane laws. In this case, it's talking about the damage cases and things like that. They also came from God. Even the intellectual commandments that every single country has laws of damages, right? Even those laws, but because they were given to on Mount Sinai, those logical, mundane propriety laws, they also come from Mount Sinai, from the essence of God. The same God that creates the world, the same God that said, I am God, the souls jumped out of the bodies, is the same God that says that if you kill somebody's ox and there's no witnesses there, that the law is like this, and if one person claims that you killed it and you say, I didn't kill it, I only did, what's the law? Right? All these mundane, ridiculous laws that people could decide on their own. You don't have the God to decide these laws, but because God did decide these laws, so they have the same importance as the God that spoke, I am God that took you out of Egypt, and everybody's souls jumped out of their bodies. That's the whole idea of the Torah. And we can learn from every word of the Torah, we can learn deeper and deeper lessons. That's what it means, Eile HaMishpatim. These are the laws. You can point to your finger and say these on the way, the Tasim Lifneihem. You should take the laws and you put it inside of them. This is what we're talking about. Why are we talking about this? This is next week's Torah portion. Everything comes from the Torah. This week's Torah portion, we're talking about the 10 commandments, Yitro. Next week's Torah portion, we're talking about all these very minute, mundane, physical laws. And today, God willing, in the Chumash class, I want to start enumerating some of the laws that are found in this week's Torah portion. But just to let you know very shortly, next week has a lot of commandments in it. A lot of commandments. And how many are there? How many commandments are next week? There are 53 commandments. 53 commandments next week. There's 53 commandments in next week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion, there are 17 commandments. 17 commandments, and I think we're going to enumerate some of them today, what they are. of course, the simple ones, the first two commandments, to believe in God. The second, don't believe in idols. This is the source of all the positive commandments and the prohibitions in the Torah. So next week, we're going to learn about all these mundane financial laws. And we have to understand that these financial laws, these come from God. God said to Moses, don't think that maybe I'll just learn something once or twice and I don't have to understand the deep reasons for everything. There's a book in Judaism which is called Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, the short, an abridged, short version of all the laws of practical laws of the Torah. Wonderful book written by a Rebbe called Shlomo Gansfried. What is it, like 150 years ago, something? He wrote the book 100 years ago. And very, very beautiful, but it's very, very, and he wrote it for this purpose, very superficial. It just tells you what to do, what to say, sometimes even what to think, without very much reasons. In the beginning, there's a little bit of logical reasons. You have to put God in front of you all the time, but not too much. Says, okay, I'll read that book. That's good enough for me. Says, God, don't do it. You have to make yourself put an effort, especially because the Torah is above understanding. The Torah comes from God. Therefore, it says, Asher tisim lifnehem. Therefore, the laws, if you're a teacher, you have to put the laws inside of everyone. That you have to put the laws, first of all, they have to be easily understood, but also you have to give the deeper reasons also to the people who are learning, like a Shulchan Aruch, like it says, like a set table. So give not only the laws, but also the reasons for the laws. And you have to remind all constantly that these are God's laws. And even though the non-Jewish courts could judge the exact same way, and it seems apparently that it's the same thing, but the fact of the matter is that it's not. This is the Jewish farmer, he prays to God for success for his crops and he plants. There's millions of farmers, non-Jewish farmers in the world, that they don't pray to God and they plant and it grows up. We see that there's wheat for the whole world, there's whatever it is. How do these fields grow up without praying to God? So the Jewish farmer says, listen, that's not my problem. That's not my interest. God knows what he's doing. What I know is that you plant the seed and it grows. It's an incredible miracle. It's an incredible miracle. The same thing with the Torah. The Torah is a law, a book of laws. You can take it for face value. Yes, that you can. But the Jewish person says, I'm not taking it for face value. The Torah is an amazing miracle. If planting a seed and it grows, that's a miracle. How much more so the words of the Torah? That's what it means. Tasim, the word tasim means like a treasure house, a sima. Shagam, also the treasure houses which are in the Torah, the inner secrets of the Torah that on themselves they're concealed. They are connected with the inside of God, the hidden aspects of God. Nevertheless, it has to be b'fneim. You have to try to put this inside of you also in a revealed way that it inspires you. This is the whole idea of the Torah. This is the whole idea of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. That's the idea of the number 11, putting the oneness of God into the 10. That's why the 10 commandments were repeated twice. The first time in this week's Torah portion is talking about the oneness of God. The second time is talking about how we can bring this oneness of God into everything in the world, as we'll talk about more, God willing, tomorrow. Let's learn now this to Hayom Yom. Sorry, we went over a little bit, but that's for some reason this is not let's try it again. What's going on here, huh? I think maybe this. There we go. There we go. Let's try it. Oh. Okay, on Shabbat Parshat Bashalach, this is last Shabbat, the Tzemach Tzedek said a mimer which is called Ru'u Ki Hashem. Natan Lachav the Shabbat. This is in this week's Torah portion. The last week's, I'm sorry. On Shabbat, my grandfather said this. What did he say? It says that the sea returned back to its strength. It says that God split the sea, and that the sea, after he split it, says the Jews went out and the Egyptians were still in the sea. It says the sea went back to its original strength. It says the word strength in Hebrew means also a condition. Tana, etano is the same letters as tanao. You can rearrange it. Strength can be rearranged to a condition. What does it mean, a condition? You make a condition with someone, a stipulation. When God created the world, he stipulated with the water that it would do what it, and that it would split when God commanded it to do it. The Rebbe, he repeated this, and etc., and he said, today the Baal Shem Tov and the Magid and the Alter Rebbe came to me. They had already passed away. And each one said the Maimar in his own style. The Tzemach Tzedek was the third Rebbe of Chabad, and his grandfather, and the first Rebbe of Chabad, and his grandfather's teacher. And the teacher of his teacher was the Baal Shem Tov or the Magid and Mezrich. They all three came to him and repeated this Maimar about the sea splitting and going back to its original stipulation that it made the water made with God in the beginning of creation. He called my father and he said another interpretation of this Maimar. Okay, what can we learn from this? The Maimorim that we're learning make huge effects in the spiritual worlds when they're said. The results of this we'll see when Moshiach comes. Have a good day with Moshiach. Now, God willing, 3:00, we're learning the Chumash, 10 Commandments. Yesterday we learned the first 2. God willing, today we'll learn the last 8. Hope to see you.